Hello everybody, it's Cara from Wild Book Garden, and today I am here with a couple of book club announcements. Basically our updated reading schedule for two different book clubs that I either host or co-host. So one of those is the Not a Genre Book Club, which I have created and I host myself along with various different guests who also lead and participate in the discussions. And then the other one is Past It Classics, which I host with Taylor and Julia from Page Screen Taylor and Shakespeare and Such, who of course I will link below, and we all take turns hosting the discussion for that one. So this is going to be a very quick video. It's nice that I have some of those sometimes, and I'm going to just be looking at my notes here just to make sure that I have the order correct and everything. So I'll just start with my Not a Genre picks. So this is going to carry us basically through the end of this year of 2024, and then of course I will have a new announcement going up talking about the first few things that we're going to read and discuss in 2025, which is wild to say. I'll also link the playlist that I have for the book club down below, but the very short version is that it's a book club I created to read and discuss young adult and middle grade books with the same kind of depth and thoughtfulness and respect, attention to detail that we generally afford more to adult books or to classics, books that are more often considered great literature. And this book club is about showing that great literature does not have an age category. So Julia from Shakespeare and Such is my current guest host. We at the time that this goes up, we'll be almost done with our Giver read along, which is a reread for Julia, and I've never read it. And so these next four books that we're going to read are rereads for me, and Julia has never read them. So the sort of basic ideas we had about like how to go about selecting these books, I wanted specifically to pick young adult books because the Giver series is middle grade, and so I thought that would provide some nice balance. I of course wanted to do books that I love and that I think Julia could love, and I also wanted, since both of us read pretty widely in terms of genre, I thought it'd be cool to do a variety of genres as well. And you'll also notice that several of these are by authors who I consider my favorites. So in August, we are going to be reading and discussing A Sitting in St. James by Rita Williams-Garcia. You may remember this came in as my favorite historical fiction book that I read last year, so I can't wait to read and discuss it again. It's set in the antebellum South, and it is such a beautifully written, brilliantly characterized novel. Like, it is truly a masterpiece. It does not surprise me that it was nominated for various awards, and I think it won several of them as well. So I can't wait to return to that. Then in September, we are reading and discussing Blanca y Roja by McLemore, who is, of course, I have talked very many times about how they are one of my favorite authors. And Blanca y Roja is not one of their most popular books, but it's one of my favorites, and I think it could be one of Julia's favorites as well. It is a kind of loose retelling of Snow White and Rose Red, but also with some Swan Lake elements, and it's gorgeous. I love it. October, we are going to be reading and discussing Queen of the Tiles by Hanna Alkaf. This is another one that came in very high when I talked about the mystery thrillers that I had read, I think it was 2 years ago. It is set at a Scrabble tournament, which I found a fascinating element, and it deals a lot with grief, and the main character has lost her best friend, and so throughout the book we are figuring out what happened, why her best friend died, and how it happened, and also just more about their friendship and their relationships with other people, and I love Hanna Alkaf as well. And then finally, for November of this year, we are reading and discussing The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. So this is a historical, paranormal, urban fantasy. It's a really interesting genre blend, and one of the reasons I specifically thought this would be a great one for me and Julia to discuss, besides the fact that we both really love historical fiction and historical fantasy, is that I have read the whole Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare, and Julia has read the first book and is planning to read the whole thing, and I was not a fan of that series, but I feel like, however you feel about that series, I feel like the Dark Days Club books, which is also a trilogy, I can't remember if I said that, but I think they have some similar vibes or elements, but in my opinion, executed way, way better. And I also feel like it's a really great example of books set in a historical time period that the time period does matter, but it doesn't bog down the story. And also the female main character, I love her, and I feel like she is believable for her time period while also being believable as a woman, you know, like I always say this example, but it's not like women just woke up wait a second, I think we're people. Women have always noticed how we're treated, just people in general have always noticed that. So I feel like the Dark Days Club does a great job with that. So those are the plans for the rest of 2024. We are both so excited about these. We haven't confirmed how we're dividing them up, like whether like which ones we are going to host, because we're going to do it like The Giver, where I host and lead 2 discussions and Julia hosts and leads the other 2. So we haven't like officially confirmed that yet, but regardless of how we divide them, Julia and I are going to be reading and discussing them together. So I will keep you guys updated. Of course, I will post it on Twitter. I'll try to also post it on my community tab if I remember. But yeah, it's going to be a really wonderful time. And I know it is kind of funny to read the first book in a trilogy, but the reason we put it at the end is in case we decide that we want to continue, we have more freedom to do that. But also, I think that the first book really does, like, it obviously is part of a longer series. There is an overarching plot that doesn't get fully resolved, but I feel like that's a very satisfying first book in a series. So if you didn't feel an immediate need to continue, I think it'd be fine. Anyway, okay, that was a lot of talking because I had things to say about those books, but I think this could still be a short video. And then jumping into the Past Classics plans for the rest of 2024. So by the time this goes up, we might have already had our live show, or it might be happening soon, but our July book was Lud-in-the-Mist by Mirrlees. This is a pre-Tolkien fantasy that is written by a woman, and it's one that I actually have read before, but not for a really long time. And it's got sort of like old world fair folk kind of elements, and it's a really interesting mix of very spooky and also kind of cozy. I think it'll be a really great one to return to. And I will be hosting that discussion. Then in August, Julia is hosting the discussion for The Pillow Book by Shonagon. So this is going to be a book that we read in translation. I believe it is by a Japanese courtesan, if I remember correctly, and it's supposed to be absolutely hilarious and yeah, really enjoyable. September, Taylor is leading the discussion for Beloved by Toni Morrison, which is one that I have not read since high school when it was assigned to us. And I definitely think 14 years old was too young to be reading it, but I feel like I could appreciate it so much more as an adult. Then in October, I am hosting the discussion for To Star With Love by E.R. Braithwaite. And this is one that there's a very well-known film version, I think starring Sidney Poitier, which I haven't seen that either. And I haven't read the book either, but I just feel like I'm going to really enjoy this one. And I think it could be a really interesting one to discuss. And it's a classic by a Black author that the main character is a young Black man who is a teacher, and I think it's about the new school that he ends up teaching at. And then finally, in November, Julia is leading the discussion for A Long Fatal Love Chase by Louisa May Alcott. I haven't read a ton of books by Louisa May Alcott. Like, I've read Little Women, and I've read the 8 Cousins books, and I think I must have read a couple others, but she has a ton of books, and this is like a spooky romance, I think. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah, and then December we usually take off, and that is the plan this time around as well. And then in January we will pick up with Taylor hosting the Classies. Yeah, I'm so excited that we are still going with this book club. Again, we are always very excited about our picks, and as with Not a Genre Book Club, as we get closer to the beginning of the new year, I will update on our upcoming picks. So yeah, those are the plans for those 2 book clubs. Please comment down below. Let me know if you are going to participate in either of them, or if you're just interested in any of the picks that we have. We are always so excited to read and discuss books with each other and with you guys. And thank you so much if you have tuned in any capacity for either of those projects. We're very passionate about them, and it makes us so happy that that it's something that you guys also find interesting. Yeah, so whether you are able to watch live, or you tune in later, or you just sort of follow along, it's all great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book